Good morning, Philadelphia, and all the ships at sea. This is your girl Amber E with the piping hot tea. This is my tea. What's yours? And I'm going to be honest for a second. That theme song is never going to get old for me. There are quite a few renditions of Tea for Two. Hi. Sorry, I hope you can hear me now. Good morning, Philadelphia, and all the ships at sea. This is your girl Amber E with the piping hot tea. This is my tea. What's yours? And I want you to keep in mind that this is live radio, and I hope you can bear with me when I have my oopses. I'll admit I never, ever, ever get tired of hearing that theme song, Tea for Two. There are quite a few renditions. There's Nat King Cole's, there's Blossom Deary's, but that particular, one with the bop and what have you, I love it. Just putting that out there. I hope you've all had a good week. I know it's been a long week, but if nothing else, keep in mind that at the very last minute, the Birds clinched the win come on, Eagles. I'm so proud of y'all. I mean, I have friends over Rittenhouse Square who said that when we were able to not only block the, field goal attempt, but make it so that we were able to get another goal, people could hear them screaming. And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Come on, Birds. Yes. Okay, I'm back. Woosah. I haven't had my tea yet. I'm just so hyped about that. If nothing else, I love that my Birds clinched the win this Sunday. Let's continue to have a great season, guys. Oh, still super excited. Woosah. Again, good morning. Today's tea is a simple one. As you all know, I'm alternating between black teas and herbal teas. This simple herbal is a mix of rose hip, hibiscus flower, goji berry, orange peel, lemongrass leaf, peppermint leaf, and raspberry leaf. And I've already added my honey to it. So, you know how we do. Spoons up, good people. And not bump into the microphone while we do that. Spoons up. Round and round's a dreadful show. Back and forth is how we go. From 6 to 12 and back again. Back and forth to stay within. Now, here's what I love about this kind of tea. And y'all know how I am about herbals versus black teas. This is the kind of tea that I would drink either in the summertime, chilled, because it almost reminds me of Kool-Aid. Except it's not Kool-Aid. It's a natural beverage with hibiscus. That's probably what I'm going to get a lot of right here. But before I go on too much, give me 1 second. Let's just see this. Yeah, definitely one that you have in the summer. If you're going to have it in the winter, here's what I would say. Have it piping hot. It's almost kind of like, and we talked about this during the summer, where if you wanted to add things to different kinds of teas, be that, I really shouldn't go, like if you want to add ciders to teas, for examples, or any kind of mixes, what have yous, I think this is the kind of tea that would make it have a really good base, because it's fruity, it's strong, but it's versatile. And again, I have my honey to go with it, so this is quite delicious. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm just reveling in this moment. Oh, yeah, we're good. So, as you know, every episode I give a shout out to someone. But before I do that, I actually wanted to share something with you. Last week I mentioned, when I was talking about the last shout out I gave to Miss Kim Brown and the Brown Girls. Hi, everybody. So good to speak with you this week. That while I was flying from Oklahoma to Philadelphia, what started off as notes for the actual event that I was speaking at turned into a poem. And when I was rewatching it, I went, you know what? I mentioned that I was going to read this. So you know what? I'm going to read it today. And it actually is called The Tea for Us. That's capital T, not T-E-A, but it's called The Tea for Us. Here we go. Tea goes beyond Euro-interpretive projection. It's more than just pinkies up and doilies down. Tea creates memories. Tea implies refinement. Tea brings healing, elegance, community, power, keen and clear intellect, connection, creation, healthy conversation. What is the tea, even going down to the tea now meaning capital truth? Loose leaf versus tea bags, herbals versus white leaves. Is herbal tea even tea at all? It's not. We'll talk about that another time. From sips to 100 bag boxes at the dollar store to Russian teas on Thanksgiving mornings, we may not even realize it, but tea is history, our history. And I'm not even speaking Boston Tea Party history. I'm talking raspberry leaf for menstrual cramps history, chamomile for sleep aid, holy basil, and rooibos. Tea is black women's excellence, and that is my tea. And again, that poem there is called The Tea for Us. Maybe one day I'll record it, and it'll be something a la Gil Scott Heron's The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. We'll see. But I wanted to share that with you because it's a healthy segue to my shout out, which is actually to two mothers. The first is to Ms. Charlotte Butler, whose birthday was this week. Happy birthday, Ms. Charlotte. I do declare, I hope you're having your birthday week and enjoying your birthday month power. I'm one of those people who, because my birthday's in the middle of the month, it's the 17th of June, I celebrate my birthday all month. I don't know about you, but I do it. I regret nothing. It definitely makes me feel special, and this really goes back to the fact that my birthday was in the middle of the month, and usually the school year would end at the beginning of the month, early June. So I felt like, you know, how all the other kids would bring cupcakes to class and their parents would drop sweets off and things. I felt robbed. Why? Because I didn't get that benefit. So I was like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and switch this so that I can celebrate all month. So Miss Charlotte, I don't know if you're one of those people, but if you are not embracing celebrating all of this month for your birthday, consider it. There are a couple days left. You know, it's the 27th. We have 3 more. You never know. That's my first shout out. My second shout out is actually to my mom. And I'll tell you why. Because as you've heard me talk about on my show quite a few times, tea was sacrosanct to my mother. My mother had 11 brothers and sisters, one of which just is watching. Good morning, Auntie Natalie. How you doing? My mom had 11 brothers and sisters, and actually her mother, my grandmother, had 19 children. 12 survived childbirth. And so, as you've heard me say, when you have that many people in the house, you want to hold on to something that belongs to you. And so for my mom, it was tea. But not just talking about that per se, but fast forwarding a little bit. As many of you know, and as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I've been giving lectures or talks, if you will, over at the Welcome Table in Allegheny, and that's also happening today at 10 a.m. So if you are available, you're more than welcome to come. And I am mentioning a little bit of everyone, a little bit, emphasis on a little bit, because there's no way in an hour that I can get everybody and their mama in this one lecture, but I tried to include as many black women as I could because the lecture is actually called Ain't I a Woman? The Power of the Black Woman in the Civil Rights Movement. And I start off with Sojourner Truth's Ain't I a Woman? Spoiler alert. And then, of course, I go to Fannie Lou Hamer, IDB Wells Barrett, and my goodness, Josephine Baker, who did speak at the March on Washington, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. I also talk about women who are up and coming now. We have Stacey Abrams and Joy Reid and Jasmine Crockett, who I spoke on a couple of weeks ago, so on and so forth. But the person that I end with, again, spoiler alert, I end with Dr. Bernice King, who I met about 2 years ago. She spoke at the AME church, the oldest AME church in Philadelphia, Mother Bethel. And it was at the very end of Black History Month, and the man who was the MC was asking her all these questions about her father, and was saying, okay, so we know that you have all these things in your own right that make you special, but what do you think your father would think about X, Y, and Z? And she gave her 2 cents about it, but she also took the liberty to call out a lot of things that she, in her own right, saw as a problem in her own intellect. And again, she's a Juris Doctorate. She has her bachelor's in psychology from Spelman. I mean, she's incredibly educated. She's an amazing orator. And on top of that, she's very, very good at defending her argument. And so in thinking about what I'm doing today, one of the harder things to do when your parents are established individuals is carve out a place for yourself. My parents were very prominent in my community. My mother worked at quite a few law firms. Mommy was a bit of a socialite too. I'm laughing because, again, I know my Auntie Natalie's watching this, but my mom's older sister, my late Auntie Mildred, love you, Auntie, she came up here to live with us here in Philadelphia from Atlanta in the last 2 weeks, the last 2 years of her life. And Auntie Mildred made me laugh harder than only maybe 2 other people. And she'd go, niece, I'm watching you and your mama, and you get up and you go out and you meet with all these women and you put your faces on, you're wearing your dresses and your high heels, and I'm sitting here, I got a different wig a day, okay? And on top of all that, I'm not going to be wearing no dresses when we go into these little hotels talking about infant mortality. I'd already had 2 babies and lost 2 babies, okay, niece? And I'm sorry. She really was one of the most hilarious and selfless women I've ever met in my life, my Auntie Mildred. And so I'm bringing all this up because in making the comparisons in my research between Dr. Bernice King and myself, you kind of have to honor the women who came before you. The late great Queen Mother, Miss Cicely Tyson, when she received the Black Girls Rock Living Legend Award, she said this, and I put my own spin on it, but she said, you have to understand that we are the seeds of the work of our elders. We are not standing on their shoulders, but on their backs. And it takes a lot of humility to let someone stand on your back. If they're on your shoulders, then, their body weight is coming down on you and pushing you down to the ground. But if they're on your back, that means that you're already laying prostrate and your face is probably glued to the ground, and your entire person is laying, I had to get it right in my head, vertically on the ground. And again, that takes humility by definition, because humility, of course, has two meanings. It means to not be proud and also to be near to the ground. And so I'm just giving a quick shout out to my mother and to all the mamas who are watching, and all the Black women who, I'm trying to be so PC right now. Let's just call it what it is. Come correct 24/7. Hello. I am just so proud of us. Speaking of being proud of us, I have two words for you. I'm taking a sip for a second. I have two words for you. Between 4 and 5 billion, not million, billion dollars. So for those of you who don't know, I am a substitute teacher here in the Philadelphia area, and I have a school I go out to in Tacony more often than not, and I love my kids. Hey, y'all, I know you're not listening to this because radio, you're probably on TikTok or something, but you know what? I love you anyway. And this past summer, I decided to read 3 books. I decided to read 1984 by George Orwell, The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, because we'll talk about that another time. And I was going to read Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler, and somewhere in the middle of reading 1984, my stomach couldn't handle it. It was just so much reality, if you will, and so much heaviness. I couldn't take it. So it wound up being a tag team of Project 2025, and Just As I Am by, again, the aforementioned Miss Cicely Tyson. And so I put it down a couple of months ago because with everything happening, it was just, same reason I couldn't read Mein Kampf. I couldn't stomach it. So what I decided to do was pick up Project 2025 again. This is probably about a week and a half ago. And same symptoms. It was just written out such a blueprint. This is all my opinion, of course. But I had to step back, and I know that if I stay engaged, I won't shrink away from what's happening in my world. That's just me. And so long short of it, what I decided to do was to go back to my first love, which is literature. So I picked up 1984 again. How about when I taught this week, what are the kids reading? Chapter 4 of 1984. And there's this huge poster in the classroom that says, Big Brother is watching you. And I go, you've got to be kidding. We're going to tear this class up. I'm so excited. And on top of that, there was a portrait of someone else that I'm speaking about today, Fannie Lou Hamer, next to the door. So I'm like, you've got to be kidding. I'm doing a lecture on Fannie Lou Hamer on Saturday, and I'm reading 1984 for quote unquote kicks. Come on. Thank you. So excited. So when we started talking about it, and this is over the course of about 4 classes of 11th and 12th graders. I'm sorry, 11th grade was philosophy. All the 12th graders reading 1984. I'm like, so, you have work left by your teacher. I'm not going to interrupt that. But what is this book about? Do you hear that silence? That's what I got. And I'm like, Winston, does anyone know? No, I'm like, guys, I won't even say this from a literature standpoint, but don't you get that there's a lot happening right now that's heavily censoring what you can and can't say? I mean, this is almost too funny how the parallels right in your face, how this is chapter 4 of it. So we're talking about how, the protagonist has written down some things that are against the rules a couple of chapters prior, and now is going to have to deal with some, spoiler alert, y'all, if you haven't read it, go read it. It has to deal with the consequence. Is that not happening right now? And my kids are looking at me like, wait, really? Wait, what? Okay, that's a thing. And again, part of me is rubbing my temples going, where did we fail, y'all? Where do we fail our kids? And again, 1984 was written in the 1940s. This is written right after World War II. And so I get that it's not the most up-to-date bit of literature out there, but there's a reason that we're still teaching it, because it's still relevant. As a matter of fact, now more than ever, I would say it's so relevant, you can't even say it borderlines on parody or cliche. It's kind of out there for you to learn. And what I said to my students was, and again, I don't teach mathematics, I do teach social justice on occasion, but one thing I want y'all to realize is that we're not just writing these stories for you so that you can entertain yourselves or strengthen your imaginations. And if you do decide to entertain yourself or strengthen your imagination, please get on that truck yesterday. I implore you. But in addition to that, human beings have a tendency to, I'm trying to say this in the most polite way I can. We have a tendency to make the same mistakes over and over again. And I'll leave it at that, because I'm trying to be kind. And sometimes, if we just look at the blueprints left by those who made the mistakes before us, I'm not saying we won't make those mistakes, but I am saying that we don't have to repeat those mistakes in an identical fashion. We'll make our own, but come on, people. And now that history's kind of repeating itself in a way that is so profound and pronounced, I don't think that any people who I've spoken to who lived in the 1960s, and asking them, have you seen it like this? And they shake their heads and they go, Amber, we've never seen it like this before. That's a profound statement, because again, the aforementioned Fannie Lou Hamer, to say that she had it hard is an understatement. She not only had it exceedingly hard, but she had limps and scars from the rest of her life from beatings from the police. Like, I've said this quite a few times. I don't know if at this point in history we can stop the boulder rolling down the hill. I don't believe that. But I do think that we can minimize the number of casualties. I really do believe that. So all of that to say, I'm just very tickled how this week has played out, where censorship was demanded, and then because it became more about business than free speech, because you're losing billions of dollars, it was allotted, but not everywhere in the country. And now it is back and everywhere in the country. And so it's a matter of reminding those of you listening and those who are watching and those who will watch again, we have more power than we realize. Here I'm showing my age a bit. In the early days of Pixar, there was a movie called A Bug's Life, and I think Dave Foley played Flick. It's about an ant. It's about a colony of ants, rather, who provide food for a gang of grasshoppers. And is that an Aesop's Fable reference? Did I just get that after watching that movie? Oh my God! I think it's been like 30 years. Is that an Aesop? Oh my God! Okay, I'm sorry. Ignore me. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm taking a sip of tea for a moment. I'll give you a topic. Ant and grasshoppers. Discuss. No, better one. Arachnids. Discuss. I'm sorry. That just hit me like a ton of bricks. It's a reference to the ant and the grasshopper Aesop fable. That's crazy. Okay, getting back on point. But I still can't shake that. But getting back on point, this colony of ants had been feeding these grasshoppers, and the way the grasshoppers, manifest their power is basically bullying them into doing their bidding and saying there are bigger ants and bugs that can get you. So we're here to protect you. So sure, we're going to protect you, but at the risk of breaking your spirit, so on and so forth. And then there's one little ant that, basically pushes back and says, we don't want to do this anymore. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because at one point, the gang of grasshoppers, a few of them kind of look at their leader, voiced by Kevin Spacey, and says, why do we need to go back? It's just one ant who stood up to you, so on and so forth. And this is what he says in response. And I quote, again, I've been watching this film for like 30 years. And I quote, you let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. And mind you, before he says all that, he makes an example of the 3 grasshoppers by letting a bunch of grain basically crush them to death. Isn't that dark for Disney? Never mind. I'm wrong. It's Pixar. It makes perfect sense. Never mind. I digress. So I'm saying all that because I'm so adamant about community. I think we forget to remember that we as citizens have more power than we realize. We definitely know how to, if we get together and speak the same language, and in this case, the language was money, it'll make a difference. For, again, between 4 and 5 billion, not million, $1 billion. And I'm not going to make a Dr. Evil reference, don't worry, I'm not that corny. But it just kind of struck me like a large bell when I thought about it. One other thing I want to mention is something I meant to mention last week and I totally forgot, and I was so upset after I got off the air. Like, Amber, you were there. Why didn't you talk about it? I don't know what the status of it is now. I don't like to speak in absolutes, so I'm not going to say yay or nay about it. But at one point, there was talk about President Trump bringing the National Guard to Philadelphia. And the district attorney of Philadelphia started having these town hall meetings in the city. And I actually attended one. It was amazing. It was over on Germantown and Johnson Street. And it was an open forum. And I was right in the front row. And, excuse me, no, it wasn't. It was an open forum in the sense where you could submit your questions via card and they would read them and so on and so forth. And it was more the DA and quite a few community leaders from around the city of Philadelphia talking about things. And one thing I kept thinking about was, so a lot of us are already giving the talk to our children about how not to speak to the police. Now we have to worry about not so much not speaking to or not trusting, but dealing with systems that are not meant to listen but are meant to hurt first. And sitting in that town hall and listening to so many people air their grievances. Now, I will admit, there were like 1 or 2 people who had to be different and not follow the rules and started yelling from the back. And I'm like, really, guys? Can we just keep protocol for 2 seconds? But we'll talk about that another time, too. It was still so empowering to see maybe between, I would say, approximately 75 to 100 people say, so what do we do about our neighbors whom ICE have already taken out and again, I'm sorry, not taken out, poor choice of words, who have already, been deported, who've lost their businesses, whose children are concerned. Where do we keep X, Y, and Z? And therein, for me, was the reality of the situation, that this is severe up in here, that there are so many things that are happening in our city, in our country, in our world, even at the UN, we'll talk about that another time too, that are meant to incite fear in people. And that's my biggest concern. Because again, when we speak in absolutes, it's meant to make people concerned. I'm sorry that I keep holding, I was just like, okay, I know last week I said that you could wear a hat with headphones in your head, but I don't know if I can, so we'll see how this works. But thank you for bearing with me. But in thinking about how scared people are right now, how many of us are, now doing the side eye, like, who can we talk to if these things happen? It goes back to my point from last week about speaking the truth in love, creating safe spaces so that we can find people who make us feel safe. I think it's so important right now. I cannot emphasize that enough. I think it is so important to create safe spaces. And I really do celebrate those who are already doing the work. Again, I mentioned people I'm going to talk about today, the Jasmine Crockett's, the Joy Reids, the Stacey Abramses, who are continuing the legacies rather, so that we can continue to speak out against things that make us uncomfortable, make us feel scared, so that when absolute statements about medications are made by those in leadership, it's like, wait, hold on, what? We can vet, we can we can see, we can definitely have people who are not being taught so much what to think, but how to think. Because again, speaking in absolutes can be in danger, even if there may be something to it. Let's just call it what it is. So at the end of the day, I just want to thank each and every one of you who are working in your neighborhoods, who are talking to your cousins, your uncles, your aunties, your nephews, your nieces, who are continuing to look out for each other, who are supporting each other's businesses, creating your own revenue, circulating your own wealth. I am celebrating you today because at the end of the day, that's what communities are all about, so that we have strong spaces that aren't just saying, I've got your back in theory, and aren't just saying that I'm protecting you without you giving me anything in exchange. they're just providing spaces so that whenever anyone gets nervous, this is a refuge and I don't have to bite my lip and look over my shoulder wondering if this is for real. That is a power that if we really harness it, I believe, can truly make a difference. Not to sound like a broken record, between $4 and $5 billion because a bunch of people said, I'm just not going to support this. I'm getting rid of my subscriptions, and that's that. That made a difference, people. That made a difference. When people aren't going to listen to logic, they'll listen to money. Quick story. I remember back when I was working in social work, this would have been about 2 years ago, and there's a benefit in Philadelphia called the Medicare Savings Program, also known as MSP. And again, I haven't been in the social work game for 2 years, so it's probably changed. But when I would talk to my clients, I remember I'd say to them, there are benefits out there where if you have a Medicare Part B premium that's being taken out of your Social Security check, contingent on your income, you definitely can see about getting that money added back. At the time, this would have been around 2025, this would have been about 2023. It was about $174 at the time. Again, I've not touched the game or been up to date on the information, but 2 years ago it was around $174. And people will go, oh, I didn't know about the Medicare Savings Program, but I like my money. And I say that's exactly why I'm bringing this up, because people may not know the ins and outs, the jargon, the lingo, so on and so forth, but will they file their money? Oh, yeah. Come on now. Thank you, cousin. And again, we have Roland Martins, too. We have so many people who are definitely standing up and demanding justice. And one thing I'm going to put emphasis on is how the civil rights movement of the 1960s does not have to be such an isolated time in world history, especially since history is repeating itself again. At this point, let's learn from our elders, let's learn from our ancestors how to make this thing work. Because again, seconds take too long. We're now at the point where moments are what we have. That's really what it comes down to. And so I just want to continue to, from my side of the screen, or my side of the mic rather, encourage you, if it's nothing but with a cup of hope. Just kidding. A cup of tea that says hope on it. I said that wrong again. A teacup with the word hope on it. I hope y'all got that. Thank you for humoring me. If I can just do that, that's enough for me. If you can come to the lectures, that's great too. But what I really just want to continue to encourage you to do is continue to encourage one another. The more isolated we are, the more fear can definitely destroy us from the inside out. And if Master Yoda was right, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Let's bring down the number of casualties, you guys. I believe in us. I really do. And if we can do it over a cup of tea, and if somebody wants to bring cake, someone wants to bring quiche, somebody else wants to bring pizza, I don't know, get creative. We'll do it potluck style. It's all good in the hood. I'm all for it. And I appreciate you. You've got this. We've got this. In the meantime, between time, remember, hibiscus flowers make a good tea. Peppermint leaf does good things for your tummy. Orange peel is delicious as raspberry leaf gives you a boost. So if you want a good tea that is going to, wean you off of caffeine, or if you'd like an alternative, go a natural route. You never know. Putting that out there. That's why I'm speaking so quickly. Oh, I've been listening to myself this whole time going, why am I speaking so fast? It's the energy in this tea. Okay. I hope y'all got that. Either way, continue to keep the tea pouring, guys. And from my side to yours, that's my tea. Love and light to you all. Peace.